that you can stand. For your life is in good hands. Listen. You don't have to worry, and don't you be afraid. Joy comes in the morning. Troubles, they don't last always. For there's a friend in spirit who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, oh, I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand. I know that I can stand. No matter what comes your way. No matter what may come my way. My life is in your hands. Let's hear that again. Don't have to worry. And don't you be afraid. And don't you be afraid. Joy comes in the morning. Joy comes in the morning. Troubles, they don't last always. Troubles, they don't last always. There's a friend in spirit. Oh, there's a friend in spirit. Who will wipe every tear away. Who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken. And if your heart is broken. Just lift those hands and say. Just lift your hands. Come on, sing it with me now. I know I can. Oh, I know that I can make it. God bless you, Mother. I know. I know that I can stand. No matter what comes my way. No matter what may come my way. Spirit, my life. My life is in your hands. Hallelujah, Spirit, I can. Spirit, I can take it. I'm in the Spirit. With you, I know I can stand. God, no matter what comes my way. No matter what may come my way. Spirit, my life. My life is in your hands. Listen. Your tests and trials seem to get you down. Seem to get you down. And all your friends and loved ones. All your friends and loved ones. Are nowhere to be found. Are nowhere to be found. But remember, there is a friend. Remember, there's a friend in spirit. Oh, I feel it, Who will wipe your tears away. Oh, yes, she will. And if your heart is broken, this is all you have to do. Just lift your hands. Come on, sing it with me now. I know I can. I know
So I do want to say thank you to the choir and to Kath for being here today and for blessing us with your music and with the beautiful sounds and energy and love. And I also want to say thank you to Kath and the choir for being my teachers this week. When Kath sent me a list of the songs that were possibilities, I almost responded, "Are there any others?" Are these my only choices? And I say that because I read the lyrics and I listen to the songs and I think I do think, are they really in alignment with our unity message? I think, we're talking about unity and oneness, and sometimes it seems like we're talking to an external God or talking to an external you or whatever that is, but it's really been a wonderful opportunity for me this week to be with that and to contemplate that and to get in touch with my own understanding about that. That I think that, right, it's when the student is ready, the teacher appears and that kind of thing, What can I learn from that? And so I want to talk a little bit about that. And what I really do believe is the message, the underlying message of that song and some of the other songs that we might hear or sing and come back from our different traditions. And I think for me, this song ultimately comes down to one word, and that is faith. And I want to talk a little bit about faith and what that means and how we, in unity, understand and apply spiritual principle when we are facing situations that are challenging. I would venture a guess, I believe I'm probably 99.9% sure that there is no one in this sanctuary today who has not faced some challenge in their lives. Something that has come up in your life that has rocked your world in some way, thrown you off course. And you have been able to or willing to navigate that situation using spiritual principle or not. I mean, sometimes it's tempting to just say, I'm just going to let it go and I'm not even going to try. But what I want to look at is what our spiritual principles teach us about that. How do we use our spiritual principles? How do we understand them? And are we understanding them in a way that's really helpful to us? I had someone in a small group that I facilitated or was a part of right after the latest school shooting, the STEM school. And it pains me to even have to say the latest school shooting. But I was talking about, we were processing through that a little bit, and somebody said to me, was really with tears in her eyes, she said, I've been a Unity student. I've been a part of Unity for decades. And I don't understand how we are expected to call it good. How can we call it good when something like that happens? How can we call it good when something tragic happens in our own lives, when we get sick or someone dies that we love or whatever that is? And I said, don't. Don't call it good. I never tell anyone to call it good. Because in our way of thinking, in our human way of understanding, good is an evaluative word. It's either good or bad. And if I'm going to call something like the school shooting good, then I am an idiot. And I'm denying the reality of it. So what I would like to say is, don't call it good. I would say change that teaching to call forth goodness. Call forth goodness. And I think that really is one of the ways I understand faith. That even in the midst of something that is tragic and painful and distressing, dismaying, that I can choose to call forth goodness or godness or goddessness within. I can align my mind to goodness. Because if I get caught up in the fear and the worry and all of the energy of that, what am I adding to the energy of what's happening? And so it's not our spiritual principle to say, oh, it's all good. No, it's our spiritual principle to choose to call forth goodness and to be that goodness. To call forth love and to share love in the situation. To be the presence of love, however that shows up for us. To be the goodness in the situation. And so, I would encourage you to get away from whatever that teaching was that said, just call it good. Because not everything is good when we compare it, comparatively good and bad. Call forth goodness in whatever situation that you're in. Another teaching that we get confused about is this idea that we create our experience. That we're responsible for everything that happens in our lives. What does that set up for us? A lot of guilt. A lot of shame. A lot of I'm not doing it well. Well, if I was praying hard enough or if I was thinking the right thoughts, I wouldn't have this thing going on in my body. I get frustrated with that idea, that no, we don't create every condition. We create the quality of our experience. We create the quality of how we experience what happens in our lives. We can choose how we respond to what happens in our lives. We live in this sea of collective consciousness. We are all interacting. We are all co-creating. So how can I say that anyone is responsible for what happens in their lives that they create a condition? It's not helpful. It's not a helpful teaching. Now, we can change our thinking. We can change our energy. We can change what we are putting out into the universal consciousness that responds to us, yes. And that's part of faith. That's, again, part of calling forth goodness. Goodness within us, godness within us, goddessness within us. So please don't take that teaching and beat yourself up. If you're experiencing something, some illness or a loss of some kind, we co-create. And so that's I could probably talk for an hour about that one idea, which I promise I won't inflict that upon you in this moment. The other thing that comes up sometimes for us in our teaching when something goes on in our lives is, just like Jesus said, don't worry. Or Jesus says, in the world you're going to have trials, you're going to have trouble, but be of good cheer. For I have overcome the world. And we take that teaching as saying, let's just ignore what's going on out here and just be cheerful. As Dr. Phil might say, how's that working for you? Or part of that too is that some of our teaching is, this is not real. How many of you heard that? This is not real. This is not reality. Well, it sure seems like reality to me. So we get into this idea, and I believed it. When I got into New Thought originally 20 plus years ago, I believed that if I prayed enough, I meditated enough, if I denied and affirmed enough, that I would just transcend it all. I wouldn't have to deal with all of you people and all this stuff. You know? I wouldn't have to deal with that, right? And so that's where our teaching about denial gets confusing. When denial becomes psychological denial, it can be scary. There's a story about there was a Jewish rabbi, a Catholic priest, and a Unity minister who were all out playing golf one day. Along came a thunderstorm, and they were all struck by lightning. When they woke up, they found themselves in hell. And so they were all dumbfounded. And so the Jewish rabbi said, well, I have no idea how I ended up here. I have no idea. Well, maybe I didn't stay kosher enough. So maybe that's why I ended up here in hell. And so the priest said, well, now I think about it, maybe I did lust in my heart. So maybe that's why I ended up in hell. The Unity minister was just quiet. And they said, hey, what about you? How did you end up here? And she said, this is not hell, and I am not here. Right? And so that's our idea sometimes about denying the reality of things. What I would say about that is it's not helpful when someone's going through a challenge or when you're going through a challenge to say, well, it's not real. It is real to us. We experience it as real. What I would say is that it is not permanent. It does not define me. It is not who I am. It is not the reality of me. Whatever condition is not the reality of me. The reality of me, I like to use the word real as an acronym for radiant, eternal, abundant life. That is what is real, eternal life. And that is what each of us is, unaffected by what we experience out here, although it is real for us in the moment. And so this teaching about, well, just get past it, just get over it, I don't believe that that is what our teaching is about. I believe we all experience these things in our lives. We all do. And I think as our teaching is about knowing our humanity, and I think sometimes that we can remember and recognize our divinity through our humanity. That we are human and we are divine, we are perfectly human and we are perfectly divine. Can we experience what we're experiencing in our lives, whatever it is? Fully experience it. It's that idea of being in the world but not of the world. That doesn't mean we can just be not of the world. It truly, if we look at it, I am in the world. And I need to be fully in the world while knowing there is an aspect of me that is unaffected by the world. There is something, the eternal part of me, that is not touched by that. And so that is really the crux of that teaching. And how we can apply it when we are faced with something that is challenging. Be in it. Feel it. Experience it. Yell and scream and curse at God if you want to. God is big enough to handle it. Right? This idea, the energy. So be in that place. And the other idea, which I have totally forgotten in the moment, this idea that we somehow, that's what it was. This is a prayer that it's called the prayer of faith, which is probably one of the most used prayers in Unity. It was one of our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore's favorite prayer. And there's a recording of her speaking this prayer. It's actually a lyric to a hymn, I believe. But it is a prayer that they used to, and they may still, every day play this recording of Myrtle Fillmore reciting this prayer at Unity Village, every day. And this is what it says. God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guides my way through every moment of this day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient and kind and loving too. All things I am, can do, and be through Christ, the truth that is in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing quick. God is my all, I know no fear, since God and love and truth are here. And so when I read that sometimes, I heard that the first time at Unity, I was like, that's not unity. That's not speaking about oneness. It's talking about God as an external thing. But as I be with that now, I realize that what she's really saying, or what this is really saying, and I think what the song that the choir sang is actually saying, is that you are the energy, the life of what we call God, what we might call spirit. You are that life expressing. Now, please, this is one of the most important lessons that we teach, I believe, in Unity. That it is not out there somewhere. It is not something we have to grasp for, although sometimes we feel like we're separate from it and we need to ask for it. But the life of God in its fullness, and what we think of as God, is the energy of intelligence, of imagination, of love, of strength, of life itself, is you. Is you. And you have access to all that. You and I can use all of that, the Godness or the Goddessness that is us. And I think what the prayer is saying, and I think what the song was saying, is that we get to align with that and use that power. It is available to us. It is us. I don't even like to say it's within us because that's about separation. It is us, and we are it. And we can connect with that and use that in whatever situation we find ourselves in. Imagination, love, as I talked about, strength and power. Charles Fillmore talked about those as the 12 powers, the Christ within us, so to speak. And so, really, to me, that is the definition that I like to use for this idea of faith. That we choose to see and to connect and to be, even in the darkest times of our lives. We might need help. We might need somebody to remind us of that. That's why we have prayer partners. That's why we have practitioners. That's why we have each other. When you go out into the world, hold hands, support each other. It's available right here, right now. And that doesn't mean, yes, you might experience some instantaneous, miraculous healing. You might. I don't discount that at all. But you can use the wisdom within you to make choices to seek the help you need. You can use the imagination within you to imagine the possibilities. You can use the life within you to inspire you to great ideas, to moving forward. You can inspire the love and the wisdom within you to choose, to seek medical assistance if that's what's needed, to reach out to people. And so, it disturbs me sometimes when we use our spiritual teaching and our spiritual principles in ways that are not helpful. And I think it's important for us to understand that. To understand those things that, we are living in these bodies. And we have these experiences. We all do. It doesn't mean we're being punished. It doesn't mean we're doing something wrong. It doesn't mean that we thought the wrong thing or whatever. But we have that within us to be able to move through it, to walk through it, to do what we need to do in the moment. It is there. It is us. It's so tempting to continue to say it is within us. It is us. It is here. And we're all a part of it. And that's even separation, isn't it? We're a part of it. It's hard to find words to really capture unity and oneness. So is there anything else I need to say about that? That's probably all. I want to encourage you. I know there are things that happen in our lives that are difficult. Call forth the godness, the goddessness, the goodness, the love that is the truth. And allow that to be your guide. Allow that to be your peace. And if you like the word, allow that to be your salvation. Because it truly is the only thing that can see us through.